You're going to love this. Trust me, what you're seeing now is my normal state.
Welcome, I'm Spaghetti King, and this will be my initial thoughts on Mirai Nikki, or Future Diaries? I think it's Future Diaries. So I saw this a couple days ago. Saw the anime, saw the whole thing through with a buddy of mine. So we were watching that and watched it subbed. And here are my initial thoughts. I'm not sure if this will be as long as my initial High School DxD thoughts, because honestly, I don't really have as much complex things to say, really, in terms of criticisms and things I appreciated. Overall, I'll say, if you want the soonest, simplest message that I can give to you right now, this is good. This is good. And I went in with low expectations. I went in being like, Yandere show, Yandere, and I'm like, I've seen ASMR, I've been around it, I've been there. What can this be that I haven't seen before? I mean, really. And I'm not sure if it was anything I really haven't seen before, but it was an amalgamation of things in a way that I didn't expect that I liked, which I guess is what happens when you're experienced with things. Things keep going up. The premise of this, everyone calls it the Yandere show. That's what everyone calls it, that's fine. When it comes to it, that is not at all untrue. I would say that if you're looking for anything different, you mainly will find it in the other characters. You don't have... I'll say, something I appreciated right off the bat about this. This isn't a harem. This is not a harem, which is refreshing for me because I've seen a bajillion of those. It's been done to death, especially in Japanese media, and there's no need for it. This is the romance element between the two leads is exclusively between them in that sense. I'm going to call it romance. It is romance, but it takes its time, which is also good. Takes its time, eases into it, and this series does have sexual things in it, but for the most part, it was used sparingly and responsibly. I think I'm not sure if I'll spoil it. I might spoil a section or something like that, but right now I'll just give you my initial thoughts, and I'll probably have a spoiler section where I discuss the plot. But overall, the cast in this is incredibly strong. I'm not kidding you. Much better than I expected. Main character, he's okay. He's not bad. His arc is alright. A lot of the time, it's it's Yukiteru Mano, I believe. That's his name. He is with his Yandere here, Gasai, and she is violent. She kills people. She's like a Yandere. She's totally for him. Blah blah blah. She's obsessed with him. So it's this thing where he has this ability where he observes other people's lives, mainly because he considers himself to be kind of irrelevant, doesn't really respect himself, and this Yandere has the ability to basically observe everything he does because she's obsessed with him. So they have this contrasting power, and a lot of the themes of it is this thing where he will try to befriend other people and trust more people, but thematically, in a very interesting way, a lot of the times, Gasai is proven right by the plot. The ongoings of events actually prove what Gasai says to be correct a lot of times. So again, I said non-spoiler, but I'm just going. I'm just going. There will be... I'm not going to give you the meat of it until I tell you I'm going to give you the meat of it, but I'm just going to say things. So, if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, number one, go and see it. I recommend it. But, number two, if you want, the general stuff, because I know a lot of people click on these, they don't want spoilers, but you're going to get, the little stuff. So, early on, there's that one Shinto... future reader, she fortune teller, future reader, and Yukiteru wants to like save her, and there's this like semi-romantic thing going on there, and some creepy things too. But in the end, Gasai is proven correct after the events go happen, and just taken aback. And at the end of that, again, Gaslight proven correct. Then you have when the gay dude shows up. What is it, Akiteru or Akiteru? It has an A. It's like Akime, something like that. I suck with names. It's Yukiteru for this dude. Akise. Is it Akise? I believe it's Akise. We'll go with Akise. If that isn't his name, whatever, it's close enough. But he's gay or whatever. You'll catch on to that quick. And this dude's epic. This dude, like Akise, whatever, this dude is amazing. I love this dude. He shows up, high IQ. Dude doesn't have powers. I love it. And again, this dude, I love the fact that he doesn't have powers. Shows up, wonderful contrast to the MC over here. His design. He's got the white hair and the red eyes. MC has the black hair and the blue eyes. They got this contrast going. And I talking about Akise. In the fact that he investigates other people. He actually is keen on seeing other people. He actually has the knack for it himself. You would really think that Yukiteru's ability more so would probably belong to Akise more so, right? In his inquisitive nature there, but it actually doesn't. And in the end, via his schemings and his Machiavellian plays, he eventually gets them out of this situation where they are trapped and attacked by these dogs or whatever. Along with Hinata, by Naruto boys or whatever, and Mao! A great patriotic play here. But Mao was good. Mao was quite minimal. Overall, Mao was quite minimal. Hinata was alright. Mao's a lesbian. His name was Mao. I'm not getting those confused, right? The green hair, cute lesbian girl, that's Mao. Better be Mao. Better be Mao. I know I suck with names, but I better be good enough for this. Then Hinata, it's like the kind of like dominant like male type, and then like the more feminine lesbian thing. You know the drill. Rising lesbianism and stuff. I can talk about that, but let me just live in peace and just watch Touhou and play Touhou and just let me live in peace. All right. Those characters are side characters, not really as expanded as you would want, but Akise, the gay dude, he is explored as good as he needs to be. I would prefer him with a higher presence in the story. I would prefer if he were more around, but he was fine. He was very good. When he showed up, he was hot. He was great. Midsection, pretty good in the more calm times where you got Yukiteru in yandere kidnap mode, and they gotta go rescue him. Good. And his end. I'll take that. I'll take that end for him. My man there. I'll take that end for him. I think you went out good for the most part. So he is one of the best characters, if you ask me. I like him. I liked him a lot. I don't know if people hated him or something, but I really liked him. The best character, without a doubt, Uryu Minane. Without a doubt. I think we all know. And who's the other dude? He's like Hashijima or something like that? Oh man, these names. But nonetheless, this character, sublime. And also, a lot of good themes and messages from this character overall, I'll actually say. I don't remember the bloody quotes, but she has quotes where what is it? It's like your parents will eventually die anyway, so that's what it is. And other statements like that I just think are really interesting, very sovereigntist, if I were to, apply a kind of methodology to them. I love those little quotes, those little statements from her. Those are fantastic on its own. Wonderfully characterized character. Her backstory kind of thing from the beginning is hinted at by her design and all of that. And that is very wonderful because as we see her go, as these details are revealed about her, it feels as though, again, the intrigue we have with this character, along with the details being revealed about them, give this very nice feeling of progression with this character. And that also goes along with her liking this dude, Hashijima, whatever, this police dude. He has a long name. And, we get this flashback later on of him helping her in this mansion kind of place, whatever, and you get it's brief, but it's enough for us to get this kind of engagement in this character dynamic here, and it's so cute and we love it. And that on its own, again, this brief little character interaction, once you get Uryu again, and I say Uryu, for my Bleach boys, you know where I'm at with that. She like jumps out of this window or whatever from this hospital place, and then they like meet again, and you just have this great banter, with this, so great character, great banter there. The police dude's a bit more dull, probably why I don't remember as much, but the banter and the engagement and the arc is really where it's all at, and that is fantastic, honestly fantastic. I'm not going to go on the kawaii parts of it, but honestly, sublime. That is the best character in this, without a doubt. Yeah. That's not the main dynamic you're there for. It's the main dynamic I'm there for. But, it's mainly about Gasai. What's her first name? Gasai. Whatever. That's her first name. And then you have Yukiteru, whatever. And again, like I said, it's this dynamic of she kills people. Yukiteru doesn't want to kill people. Yukiteru wants to befriend people. She wants to protect him in that yandere way by keeping him away from any friends, any connections, all that. And it's basically this like mediation between them. That's pretty much how the progression goes, right? It's kind of like mediations. They kind of clash, but like everything she does is for him, so he kind of like appreciates her slowly. Sometimes she goes too far and stuff like that. That's the general gist of this kind of character arc as it goes. And, really, you appreciate the compelling yandere. You appreciate that progress as it goes. I do. It's good to see. And again, the series, for the most part, proves Gasai correct. For the most part, I'll be honest, the events prove her right. Like, what she says, and what she says is going to happen, what she warns, it actually is in support of her. Like, she's actually usually right. Because not only is she yandere, but, she's also kind of smart. And you see that. And on that, I should mention as well, if you are a fan of, I guess, what would be the term for it? There are these certain anime, like Death Note's kind of like this, Code Geass is kind of like this. These anime with these non-combative yet strategic powers, these mind kind of abilities where you have a kind of strategic advantage and ability you have, either to manipulate people or to infer into people's situation or whatever, or plan occurrences around other characters, things like that. This series is about the future diaries. And basically what it is you have these characters who have this diary that allows them to perceive a certain type of thing about certain people. So they can perceive events relating to one person in the future, or multiple people in the future. For example, you have a guy who can perceive the events of other people with future diaries. He has that ability, and like I said, Gasai can see what Yukiteru has, and then Yukiteru has this general ability where he can kind of see events of people in like the immediate area around him. So for example, one time he goes to like City Hall, and then because political things are happening in City Hall, he gets all this info about like the schedule of people and events in the town that are happening, because he's just in the vicinity of that area, right? And other people have other abilities. Again, I'm not here to explain every single ability and how they interacted. They interacted relatively well. It's not like the most high IQ, in-depth thing of all time. Code Geass, Death Note, examples I mentioned, are better in that regard in terms of the strategic element, how well thought out it is. But it's serviceable. It's good. The fights are good. I would not say a single fight in this was bad or dumb or anything like that. It's good. It's good, and the good thing about it is it has grit to the action relatively, which is that the characters are human. You know, they don't have superhuman strength or anything like that. They're not going to survive anything abnormal that a normal person would not. Unless they pull some shenanigans like bulletproof vests or whatever. But, you know, I mean, that's real. But, you know, it is plot armor in the physical sense. But, you know, characters are vulnerable to regular, you know, physical injuries that would kill a normal person. And I generally tend to prefer that being the case, because when the situation is gritty like that, when it is, when what would kill you would kill them, I feel like that gives a better connection with the viewer of the actual peril of the situation. There is a good sense of scale when you have characters who are so ridiculously powerful that they can destroy planets and all of this, but eventually you get to the point where it just feels like you have two invincible dudes beating each other up, flying around at incomprehensible speeds. You know, it's what it eventually feels like for Dragon Ball or Superman or whatever. And again, there's merit to those things, but it is a thing that happens. So personally, I think the action in this is good. It's well thought out, it's good, it's entertaining. All my approval there. So on that end, now I'll talk a bit more about the plot. I already went around all the characters, all the ones I like. So really, in terms of the plot, all I have to really mention is the highlights and things I didn't like. So, I would say the height of it is roughly around when Yukiteru goes like edgelord, and he kind of like sabotages these people he teams up with, that kind of like nursery home. He wants to become God to avenge his parents and all of this. And you know, the good thing about that is it's a good enough catalyst. It shows his immaturity, because you have, you know, you Minane coming over here, and she's like, you know, bloody my parents have been dead since I was like 5 years old and whatnot. And, you know, you think you're so great and you want to become God and you want to bring them back and you want to, you know, this and that. That's the great thing. And that wonderful conflict between them. Again, Minane. Wonderfully characterized character. So good. So good. But they have this nice contrast between them where she's kind of arrogant and kind of foolish and reckless in her own way, but she's an adult. So she does that like of her own understanding. Whereas, you know, Yukiteru here, he kind of loses his innocence as things goes on, becomes more edgy, and he himself, you know, wants to bring his parents back, and he has this, you know, what is the bloody term, chip on his shoulder, and you know he thinks he is sacrificing for the greater good here, and Minane is like, well, I'm just a terrorist because that's what I do. I'm a terrorist. I blow people up. I'm a mad bomber. That's how I go. And yeah, me losing my parents and growing up in the war-torn Middle East maybe had something to do with it, but that's just me. And again, it's this difference in maturity over here. It's wonderful. And in the end, you know, Uryu kind of like sacrifices herself for Yukiteru, which is the only part of her character that I may have minded. Only part I may have minded. Initially, I kind of didn't like it because I was like, this dude is like a scrub lord. But at the same time, the reason she did it is just because she saw herself as living a failed life. Saw Mr. Yukiteru here, resonated with him for the reasons I already mentioned, and therefore said, okay, whatever, I'm not dead yet, so I will sacrifice myself to help you before, you know, my last moments and all that. So, I get it. It was the only thing that sort of bugged me. It bugs me less the more I think about it and the more things go on, so that's probably good. A lot of things aren't like that. A lot of things bug me more the more I think about it, so it's good. And yeah, when he went edgelord, it was mixed, you know? I think that's what it's going to be for everyone. Everyone's going to be like... Everyone's going to be simultaneous, like... And... You know, like... There's a mixed... nature to it. Mainly because he just does simply immoral things. I mean, at that point, Yukiteru becomes pretty much an anti-villain. He's still a protagonist, but he's basically an anti-villain in terms of his role overall. And therefore, you probably won't be cheering for him. You'll probably be cheering for Uryu and her crew and Akise and all that. You'll be cheering for them, probably, because their morals are basically the same. And Uryu basically becomes morally better as the story goes on. Again, the best character. But, at that point, there's sort of an emphasis of like, oh, well, when he finally starts going brutal and killing people, like Gasai would as well, then they're like the perfect team up and no one can beat them and this and that because, she will kill anyone for him and he's, I guess, killing people to get his parents back and this and that. So, it's like this perfect team up, which is interesting that, again, they built to that this entire time. Because beforehand, the moment before this was that one dude, the dude with like the pompadour and his girlfriend there, I think and they have their little fight, and that whole arc is about like the dude is like this like traditional chivalrous guy, and he's like, the guy's got to run into the fire to save the girl. Doesn't even matter if he's not in love with her. He's got, the guy's got to take the blows for the woman, and he's got to take the hits. Blah blah blah. This kind of thing. Which I don't necessarily disagree with myself, but again, Yukiteru and Gasai are kind of this flip of that traditional kind of stereotype where he is like this inept, weak, non-physical guy, non-assertive, and then Gasai is like murderous and like very aggressive and very overprotective and assertive and like Machiavellian, really, and all of that. So it's like this like flip thing where he's like, she's like protecting you and you're not protecting her, so you're like a weakling, blah blah blah, you're pathetic, this and that. And again, it's good to comment on those things, it is. And in terms of like romance things, this isn't like the best romance thing out there, but it has good commentary on like themes of romance. Again, you have this, which is done alright. And then you have the Yandere thing itself, which is like the crux of the series. Done well, mainly because it was paced well. And then you have bloody Uryu, which is okay, but it's wholesome. So even if it's just okay, I'm going to say it's bloody excellent and I don't care. Yeah, honestly, commentary on themes of romance overall quite well, along with themes of creepy things like creepy people doing creepy things and killing people and bad things, and but it's there. And okay. Again, I think that was the best part of the series overall. The series has good pacing and good variations between its sections. It's one of those things where this kept me going and kept me on my toes the entire time. I never had a clue where this was going to go, and it's quite surprising for me to an extent, because usually when I'm watching a series, I'm actually pretty good at predicting where it's going to go. I'm pretty good at paying attention to foreshadowing. I'm pretty good at picking up on clues and thinking to myself how and where the story could go. But this one, I literally never guessed anywhere. Every time it went somewhere, I was completely swept off my feet. I was like, oh, okay. I literally had no clue where it was going the entire time. Every single time it shifted, it went somewhere else. I was impressed and I was shocked. That's very good on that. Like I said, it's very good pacing. And overall, it'll surprise you. So on that end, I can very much say it's good. It's literally good. I'm not even kidding. It's good. I'll tell you my overall comparisons of how good I think it will be. But the thing is good. This is a legitimately good series. I've said watch it already. Do watch it. I'm not even saying the meme, kind of what I was saying for High School DxD, where I was like, yeah, this is actually good. Not the best thing ever, but good. This is legitimately good. This is a good series. You should watch this. Like, regardless of even if you like, if you're Leandre or whatever, regardless if you like that, good. This is good on its own. Good. It's good. Dark series. Not super dark, but it has dark imagery and stuff. But you know. Yeah, so again, you have some slice of life moments, kind of. They're pretty few. Like, there's not that much of them. Not much slice of life, really. There's a lot of individual characterization and interaction with Yukiteru and Gasai. Like, individual interactions between them. But slice of life, not really as much. Yeah, there's also that one police dude. I never remember his name. He has like 2 Ks. Like, his first name is a K, and his second name is a K, and I just can't remember this guy's name. But he was good too. Comes in from the beginning, and he works with Uryu there, and kind of like sort of recruits her in this very good way. Again, wonderful anti-villain progression here over with Uryu Minane. What a fantastic character. But he was good. When he turned evil, it was good. But he didn't blow me away, and he eventually was like, I'm going to become God too. So he kind of like foreshadows Yukiteru doing that. He's better though, because he's more like serious. He's actually like an adult. Because initially, because Minane thought that he was working, like, what he was doing was for his son, because his son had some kind of terminal illness, and he was becoming God to help his son. But it turns out he actually wasn't. He was just becoming God, I guess, because he wanted to. Or maybe because he was like, well, I'll become God, and then even if my son dies, I'll bring my son back to life, or something like that. Something like that. But the point is, he was like, oh, well, you think you can trick me because you have my son? Well, I don't care. So, I don't know. Maybe he's kind of like Yukiteru, except more far gone. So again, kind of a good thematic commentary on that. But overall, you don't even remember him for when he was a villain for the most part. You remember him when he was like a middleman, with Uryu, and then like when he shows up at the very end. For the most part, that's when you remember him. Not really his like villain part, but he had to go down, so he had to become a villain. So it was fine how it was done. It was good. But yeah. Okay, so ending. The ending really, I don't know. The lead up to the ending was probably a better ending than the actual ending. I'll say that. That's not to say the ending is bad. I did see the OVA, by the way. I did see the extra OVA, which clarifies some things, but well, I'll get to that when I get to it. So, the initial ending, it ended sort of in a predictable way, because the moment that it said, okay, this is like a kind of a clear-out game, a survival game, you have to kill everyone, and then the last one standing wins, this kind of thing. So I understood from the beginning where that was going. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he's gonna end up killing Gasai, he's gonna end up killing everyone that's how it's going to be. In the end, it basically progresses as kind of like a Greek tragedy sort of thing, where, again, with personal and moral failings with which he cannot deal. That exact phrasing, which is that loses his parents, and then, tries to become God to save his parents by immoral means, kills people, but he doesn't kill his friends initially. He's like, oh, well, the people I like personally, I'm not going to do anything bad to them. But, eventually then his friends understand, learn when Akise asks God, he just asks God, can you bring people back to life? And apparently the answer is no. So, his friends reveal this to Yukiteru-chan, and, Yukiteru then, breaks down, basically, because he's gone on this murder spree, he's gone, basically, mad bomber, and it's all for nothing. So, he eventually kills his friends, literally, in this interesting engagement. And, his friends want him to turn on Gasai, because his friends think that Gasai is going to betray him, which they had good reason to believe. And in the end, Akise, kisses Yukiteru. Whether that was intentionally gay or just to provoke Gasai, doesn't really matter. I already thought he was gay. If he wants to go there, he can go there. Honestly, it's a better ship in the end, alright? My boy Akise, this man's the king. This man's high IQ. If that's where he wants to go, I'll let the man go where he wants to go, alright? He'll go where he wants, alright? He'll go where he wants. He'll sail the seas that he wants. He'll be going. So if he wants to go there, let him, I'll just let my boy go, alright? Let my boy go. But, in the end, you have Gasai kills him, and, then you get into this situation where they're the only two left, and then things happen. Probably my most uncomfortable part of the series. The only part of the series I probably genuinely didn't enjoy was that part. Didn't enjoy it. I'm just gonna, no, I just didn't. I'm not ashamed to admit that one. Didn't enjoy it at all. But that part. But then you get this weird time travel thing where basically you go back in time and see the events of everything. You go back in time into another dimension. Beautiful, wonderful. I love when that happens in stories. And then you have this basically everything that happened and why it happened is told to you. And then in this weird drama and DBZ fight between Uryu and this other demon, whatever, is with God, basically God's kind of advisor who purposely makes the thing troublesome for God. They have this flying DBZ-esque aerial fight, and you just have this end where it appears that Gasai will kill Yukiteru, and she wants to kill him so after she becomes God, she can go again into this third dimension, because this is in the third dimension, and then fall in love with the Yukiteru of that dimension again, and then eventually kill him, and then become God again, and then in this infinite loop, basically, that she wants. But she ends up killing herself, and then Yukiteru becomes God of the second dimension, and is sealed off from any of the other dimensions, and I guess just stays there for 10,000 years, and then according to the OVA, through methods, the Gasai of the third dimension, who never met Yukiteru, in kind of a Sonic 06, at least still familiar with Sonic after the time is reset or whatever, in this kind of intuition of their love. She gets there, and then they are together again after 10,000 years and that kind of thing, and that's the end. Pretty complex ending, I must say. Maybe overly complex. And initially I kind of didn't really like it. Initially I was like, I was like, this is kind of wholesome. This OVA kind of wholesome, I must say. So I kind of forgave it just on the wholesome, factor, the wholesome benefit. But it doesn't really clear up any of the issues that I would have or you would have with the ending, which mostly has to do with it being overly complex and not really connected to what has been built up in the series, at least in the sense of its progression and its mechanics. Very kind of distant from what has been going on. I mean, we didn't have time travel going on in the story until this point, or multiple dimensions or whatever. It just hadn't been going on, so it feels weird. It feels weird when the climax of your story takes place in a context and with mechanics that you haven't even built up in your story. And again, I'm not the content of the story itself was built up, but these mechanics, no, they're kind of just brought in. However, I've seen worse. I've seen worse endings, and the OVA did a good job in giving a better send-off, a better kind of ending feel to you. Personally, if bloody Yu Yu Hakusho could have gotten some kind of OVA thing like that, I probably would have... it would have been a much better feeling, but overall, the ending was fine. Okay, the ending is kind of insane. The ending is kind of out there, but it's a fine ending. In the sense of feeling climactic, in the sense of concluding our character arcs, in a good way, not in a weird, pulley way, a stupid way. It verges on stupidity, but it's smart enough to not be stupid, which is impressive, because almost nothing can do that. But it does. It does. It's competent. It's competent. It's well thought out insanity. So that's the ending. I don't hate it, but I didn't hate it. I kind of just didn't like it, if you know what I mean, just because it was so different. But last thing I'll talk about is there was one part in which I was kind of worried. It was about Akise. It's when God said that basically, Akise, everything you've done, you actually did not do. Everything you've done, I pre-planned for you to do, etc., etc. And I hated that when I first heard it, because I thought it was basically saying that, like, everything Akise had done was, like, nothing. Like, throughout the entire story, he, like, had no accord of his own, and he was just controlled. And I hate that. I was like, this is stupid. But then he, like, does his own thing, his own decision, so he kind of proves that he does have his own awareness. So it's like, okay. But, like, why do you even bring that up? All that does is delegitimize the character. Delegitimize one of the best characters in this entire story, to just say that everything he's done is like a fabrication or not of his own accord. That's stupid. That does nothing but make that character worse. I hate that when stories do that. I don't like that. Like, Bleach did that with Aizen being like, everything you've done since the beginning I planned out. And granted, something like Bleach can kind of get away with that more so, because Bleach is kind of stupid. In the good way. Bleach is entertaining. And I like it. But, Bleach can do stupid things and get away with it more because it's entertaining and cool and epic. This can't do those things and get away with that as easily. And it did, take the blow. It did, like, reduce the damage by saying, well, I can't actually do one thing. But saying that hurt the character overall. Granted, he had a good ending, like I said. He had a good conclusion. Pretty much everything I wanted with that character was concluded. He even got his own ability and all that in the very end. All good. So that was good. But he almost, took a blow there. He almost, went down. But thankfully, it saved itself. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say for that series. In the end, of course, it went on way longer than I expected. I didn't think I could talk about this thing for this long. I mean, I don't even know. Honestly, when I watched it, I was kind of, I was like sleep deprived and all that. So I don't know. Maybe that's how a part of why my recalling of names is so bad at the moment. But I suck at remembering these names. Anyway, I pray that me using the name Akise, that's actually his name. I hope it's not some other name, some different name or something. I hope that's his name. Please let that be his name. Please let that be his name. Okay, but that's it. So, if you've watched this entire thing and you haven't seen this series before, I thank you, but I never like spoiling things for people. I don't like to spoil things for people, but nonetheless, this is a good series. I recommend you watch it. It's got some dark things in it, but, other things have dark things in them too, and they're okay. So, this is a good series. It's got a very strong cast. The cast of this series is incredibly strong. That's the best thing about it. Its plot is pretty good. There are better plots, there are better fights, there are better things like that. But this cast is incredibly, well set up. Their interactions are great from beginning to end. Wonderfully done. Better than other series, too. The pace, very consistent as well. Very good on that end. For example, this has a much better pace and much better development of the characters than a series like Death Note, I would say. And that would probably piss a lot of people off. But honestly, this has better flow and better characterization than Death Note. Absolutely. It's not better than Death Note. It's not better than Death Note. Death Note is better. But in those avenues, that main avenue, this is better than that. For example. So very, very strong cast, very good in that regard. I very much like that. And if you want to know a series that I would probably compare it to in terms of overall quality, this is going to make people angry. This is going to make people really angry. But I would probably say, obviously not in terms of production, but in terms of the execution of the overall story, as a story, I would probably rate this around the level I would rate Akira. And I know a lot of these series, these ratings I probably will find insane. I remember I was asked, is this better than Demon Slayer? And I said, this trash is on Demon Slayer. I said High School DxD is better than Demon Slayer, which it is. This is way better than Demon Slayer. Bring on the hate, you know, if you don't like it, say what you will, but this, I think, is much better. The characterization in this is far better than Demon Slayer, and the execution of the plot is much, much better. Despite the fact that this has a character in it called Deus Ex Machina, there really aren't Deus Ex Machinas in this. The plot is well thought out from the beginning. Not the best thought out ever, but it is. It's consistently well executed for each character arc. Each scenario serves a purpose and progresses very well from the last one. All of them are good. They're not, again, each of them aren't necessarily the best thing ever made, but they're all good and, you know, flow and made well together. This is a story. This is how you do a story. You know, from beginning to middle to end, none of it is broken, none of it's, you know, is irrelevant or anything. All of it is relevant and good and well done and serves the purpose it needs to from beginning to end. And let me tell you, it's rarer than you think to find a story that can do that these days. But this does that. Very good. I love it. And yeah, I think in terms of overall structure of the story itself, the execution of the story itself, I would say it's around there with Akira. Maybe even something like Initial D, actually, because I love Initial D for characters, but the characters in this are probably better than Initial D. But again, in terms of entertainment factor, those are definitely better. But this is just a well-made story. It is. It's good. It's good as a story. I recommend this. So that's around where I would compare it. I gave the thing like a 7.5 out of 10 around in terms of where I was feeling with that. So please watch this. That's all I have to say. Please watch this. You know, so I'm Spaghetti King. I love you all. Thanks for watching. And farewell.